right now because it can be a distraction. We need to be mindful that we have hard-working translators, and I think we need to compliment them on all their tireless work. I'll do that again at a later point. But we need to make certain that the job that they're doing is unfettered, and the way that happens, obviously, is that we're reducing the sound. So, Louisa Hanoun, are you going to, or at least one of you conveners should officially welcome us? Yeah. Just say, oh, we don't? What? Oh, okay. We have someone who's going to, okay. We're going to have from Sister De Santo. Yes, she's going to welcome us.
Alô, alô. É Denise Santana. Bem, meu bom dia.
Good morning.
E as nossas boas-vindas.
And all the best, our best wishes.
Neste quarto dia do nosso Tribunal Internacional.
In this fourth day of our International Tribunal.
Peço licença aos nossos ancestrais.
I call upon our ancestors.
E uma saudação revolucionária aos guerreiros e guerreiras de ontem e de hoje.
And to salute the warriors of yesterday.
A este plenário e aos senhores juízes.
To plenary, to the judges.
Neste nosso quarto dia.
In this fourth day.
Os depoimentos foram bases concretas de verdades.
We've heard these testimonies based on facts and truth.
Antes e depois do furacão Katrina.
Before and after Hurricane Katrina.
Continuando os depoimentos.
We're going to continue now with the proceedings.
Os testemunhos têm mostrado a sua indignação e a vontade de mudar esse sistema.
And we've heard testimonies that show their indignation, but also the will to struggle and to fight against the system.
Aos povos negros e oprimidos,
the black peoples and oppressed peoples,
tem mostrado nos seus depoimentos
have shown in these proceedings
a indignação.
Indignation.
E por isso eu quero me dirigir aos senhores juízes.
To call and direct myself to the judges.
Neste novo dia de julgamento.
In this new day of our judgment.
Que o julgamento, sejam justos, porque a palavra do genocídio.
That we listen carefully, because the question here of genocide.
Que foi expresso em todos os depoimentos.
That has been expressed here in all of these testimonies.
Dessa população negra.
This black population.
Que se sente abandonada.
That feels abandoned.
E tem de forma muito determinada dizendo o direito à reconstrução.
And that have said in various forms we have the rights to reconstruction.
O direito ao retorno.
The right to return.
E por fim,
and
a
finally,
unidade dos povos.
The unity of the peoples.
E uma saída política deste tribunal.
And beyond that, to put forward policies and perspectives for this tribunal.
Muito obrigada.
Thank you.
Axé para todos nessa manhã de hoje.
For all of you in this morning.
Thank you, Convener Sister Santana de Jesus. We appreciate your remarks. Your Honors, just so that we can be clear in terms of the order of presentations, we have 3 remaining sectors prior to the lunch hour. We have military occupation, aid, disbursement, and health care. At this time, I'm going to have Chokwe Lumumba, who is going to present evidence and testimony on military occupation.
Good morning, Your Honors. Good morning, everybody. Free the land. All right. Free the land. We have today with us a witness. I'm not going to give a long preamble because we're going to get right to the witness, but we have a witness who will share with us the conditions which existed at the time that the hurricane came and the immediate response, which was in the form, we believe, of a military occupation rather than a rescue effort. So I will proceed to put this witness on, and he will testify to you. And we do, at a certain point in his presentation, have a DVD which we will show to actually demonstrate vigilantes, white vigilantes, who were shooting our people in the city or the area of New Orleans, as well as we will see dead bodies, or at least a dead body that he was able to capture on his DVD. I would at this time call Brother Malik Rahim to the stand. He's actually already here, so you don't have to go far. All right, Brother Rahim, could you raise your right hand if you do that kind of thing? Okay, all right, okay. And then what I would do, I would ask you if you affirm to tell the truth.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, could you, Brother Rahim, share with this esteemed panel of judges, if you would,
Excuse me, Counsel, could you first have him spell his name for us?
Could you spell your name first?
My first name is Malik, M-A-L-I-K. Last name Rahim, R-A-H-I-M.
Thank you.
Okay. Brother Rahim, could you... Okay. Could you share with us, please, what it is that you do and a little bit about your background?
Well, I'm the Executive Director of Common Ground Collective. My background is one of almost 40 years of political activism. I'm a former member of the Black Panther Party here in New Orleans. I held the position as second in command of the Louisiana chapter. My position entailed security. I was in charge of the security of the Panther Party here in Louisiana. I've organized community centers, ex-offenders program. I founded the Free the Angola 3 Support Committee, which is 3 political prisoners, 2 of them now in their 35th year of solitary confinement in Angola prison. And I guess I could just close by saying that most of my activism have always centered around either public and Section 8 housing or prison and issues of political prisoners in particular, but the prison population in general.
You indicated that you were the Executive Director of Common Ground.
Yes.
Where is Common Ground located, and where does it do its work?
We are centered out of New Orleans. I was one of the co-founders of Common Ground, and we established Common Ground in the aftermath of Katrina. Our work is that we founded in a health clinic that have now served over 50,000 people in the surrounding parishes of New Orleans. We have helped establish 5 other free clinics. We have a legal clinic. We have a bioremediation program in which we help clean up the soil. We have a wetland restoration program. We operate a distribution center for food, clothing, and water. We have gutted out over 3,000 homes in the city of New Orleans. And we have been able to do this without any federal, state, all local support.
On August the 29th, 2005, when Hurricane Katrina approached the area of New Orleans, where were you?
I was in Algiers.
Okay. Could you share with the judges, one of the reasons we have called you is to establish the character and the nature of events, how the government responded, if it responded, and the characterization to analyze the character of the response as it relates to either rescue or military occupation. Share with us your observations. Feel free to talk about all things that you think are important. Okay.
Well, to begin, when we realized that, excuse me, that we was going to be impacted by Hurricane Katrina, Henry Alexander, the founders of the West Bank Stepper, is a social and pleasure club in Algiers, but it's also a hub for ex-offenders in the city of New Orleans. We all met those that was going to stay and decided what we was going to do and how we was going to interlink with each other and support each other's effort in securing different neighborhoods, African American neighborhoods in Algiers. We knew that it was about approximately 100 to 150,000 people in a city that did not have means to evacuate. This was a part of a report that was issued the year before in '04 of a mock drill that the city had called Hurricane Pam. And under that mock drill came the realization that we had 150,000 people, or up to 150,000 people, that had no means of escaping, and that most of them were single women with children and the elderly. So I believe it was my obligation as a community organizer to stay and to try to do something to make sure that those that the city had abandoned had some kind of means of safety. Nowhere did I even fathom the idea that it was going to be the way it was. At first I met with a former city councilman, Oliver Thomas, and I asked if he came over to the West Bank Steppers, and we asked him did he needed volunteers. He told us that he was going to get back with us, but he never did. But all the way up until the 28th, that hurricane was heading straight to New Orleans. I'm a spiritual person, so I cannot go on without saying something about that spirituality. And that is all the way up until the 28th of August, that hurricane was heading straight to New Orleans. But on the 28th, it deviated just enough that it spared us. And I truly believe it was the spirit of Emmett Till, because that was the anniversary, the 50th anniversary of his murder.
Yes, sir.
And I believe it spared us, because if it would have hit us in New Orleans the way it hit Pearlington, Mississippi, we would have lost at least 60,000 people, which was the estimate of that mock drill. When the hurricane came, it was, we was blessed because we was not hit by that hurricane. We was only hit by the weakest side of that of Katrina.
Brother Malik, let me interrupt you just for a second, because you're getting to a vital point. In the event that some of the judges or the jurors here might not know who Emmett Till is, just real briefly tell us who that is.
Emmett Till was a young teenager from out of Chicago who had went to visit his family in Mississippi. And he was accused of whistling at a white lady. And for that, he was kidnapped, savagely beaten, and killed, and thrown in a river. That happened, I believe, in 1955. That's where it was, in 1955. And, it was one of the, because his mother allowed the casket to be open so that they could show how her child was treated in this nation. It really was one of the nucleus that sparked the civil rights movement.
Now, after that brutal murder of Emmett Till, and if I recall, his testicles were cut and he was brutalized beyond point of recognition, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. After that occurred in August the 28th of 1955, we now find ourselves again where you left us in August the 28th of 2005. It was August of 1955 that Till died, and you were
Yes.
making a point that's 50 years.
Yes.
Okay, you were getting to the point that the weakest part of the hurricane hit us,
Yes.
hit New Orleans.
Yes, we was hit. The strongest part of a hurricane is the eastern side of it. We was on the western side of Hurricane Katrina. So we was basically spared the impact of this Category 4 or 5 hurricane. But after the hurricane hit, because of the fact that, again, I was truly blessed because my home, I was spared. I needed a new roof, siding. For some mysterious reason, one side of my whole house, I lost everybody lost electricity. I cleaned up my house after the hurricane passed, but the night of the hurricane, we kept hearing all these horns, and we didn't find out until that morning that we had a ocean-going freighter to run aground on our levee. It was actually sitting on the levee like this, where you could see it from anywhere up in the old Algiers. That's all you had to do is just look, and you saw that ocean-going levee sitting that ocean-going freighter sitting up on our levee. We went out during the period that the eye was in, was basically coming across the city to investigate, what type of impact it had upon our levee. I only live 2 blocks from the Mississippi River. So this is the levee that protected us. And so I went out to see to make sure that that levee was safe. We went out there, we talked with these 2 courageous tugboat captains who wedged their tugboats in between that freighter and the levee. And he told us that, one of them told us that the Army Corps of Engineers and the Navy had came out to inspect it because this happened only about 3 blocks from the naval base. And said that the levee was basically safe. So I went back, I cleaned out my yard. The next day, I was cutting my grass when my brother called and told me about the flooding. Told me I need to leave New Orleans because New Orleans was flooding. I told him, I said, well, how could, whoever told you that was lying, bro, because I'm cutting the grass. And that's when he told me about this flooding on the East Bank. So
Where is Algiers?
Algiers is on the western bank of New Orleans.
Okay.
So a couple of friends of mine, we got together, got into my van, and we went over to see what was going on the East Bank. And because that was during the time they still had the bridge open. This was that Tuesday. We went across. We seen the flooding, seeing people just look like they was in shock, sitting up on I-10. As you rode by, all you could see was people lined up all up on I-10. Many of them didn't have anything, so we turned around. We gave some a ride to the Superdome, and then we went back across to get some food and water. And we brought that back. So when we brought this back the second time, we was going over to call ourselves helping doing the rescues. But the young brothers that was out there, they stopped us and they just told me, hey, Uncle, you don't have to get in this water. We got this covered. You know, you just help the people as we bring them ashore. And many of them was taking tires off of cars and using the tires as floating devices to carry children on. They was taking refrigerators and yanking the motors out of the refrigerators and using them as floating devices.
These were young brothers doing this from the city of New Orleans? Or?
Oh, yes.
And these are the ones that the news called thugs and things like that?
Yes. And I want to say right now, most of them was ex-offenders. Because it seemed like everybody who wasn't an ex-offender had left this city and had abandoned them. These was the people who stayed and made sure that the community was safe. I seen only one man that had never been arrested, or one African American that had never been arrested or spent any time incarcerated that was still in this city.
Would these young men have been around at the time that the governor gave the order to shoot to kill?
They stayed. And many of them suffered the blunt of it. I saw no looting Tuesday. That Tuesday I seen no looting. But by that Wednesday, when the desperation took toll, and people realized that the government wasn't doing nothing, when the horror stories started coming out of the Superdome of the murders, the rapes, the killing of babies, my partner Sharon Johnson, we was sitting and we was talking about it. Well, how could they be killing people in a Superdome when they made them stand out in that rain up to 5 hours to get in the Superdome? And they made them stand out in the rain before they allow them to go into the Superdome, because they searched every man, woman, and child for drugs, alcohol, and weapons. So you have to excuse me. I couldn't understand that. New Orleans police is well renowned for crowd control. That we can handle 2 million drunken partiers for Mardi Gras, but here we couldn't handle 30,000 basically unarmed and people that was basically in traumatic shock from that event. I couldn't understand that because we had not only the New Orleans police, we had the state troopers, we had the Louisiana National Guard and the Ohio National Guard that I saw at the Superdome.
Brother Malik, you were at the point, before I asked you the question, of sharing with us the young brothers who were rescuing people with the tires. And then you just shared with us the background on that the people at the Superdome would have been unarmed at the time.
Oh, yes.
Okay. I want you to go back to where you feel comfortable and then continue to tell the jurors what happened.
Well, after basically out in the area that I was at was up around Louisa on I-10.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw we continually seeing people being brought on, on I-10 because that was the safest place to be, on top of I-10. And then they had to walk. I counted so many military trucks that was passing by empty that wouldn't stop and pick up nobody.
What day would this have been?
This was that Tuesday and Wednesday.
Tuesday and Wednesday. Now, the hurricane came on the 29th.
That Monday.
29th is Monday.
Yeah.
And then this is Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Military trucks passing by empty and picking up nobody.
Nobody.
All right, go ahead.
And then you're seeing people with whatever they was able to salvage, they would put them in carts and just roll these carts to I-10 to the convention center, to the Superdome. That evening I went home because my son, my oldest son in New Orleans, his family, and quite a few of his neighbors came to my house because theirs was flooded out. And that Wednesday, we siphoned the gas that I had left in my van to give him so that he could leave. And right after he left, we went back across the river, and that's when they closed the bridge. It was just that one of the police recognized us, that allowed us to be able to go back over into Algiers. And while I was on the porch telling Sharon about when that happened, that I almost couldn't come back to Algiers, one of my neighbors came around and told me that that some white guys tried to kill him. And I said, "Oh, what?" And he said, "Man," he said, "they jammed me up and told me to run." And he said that it wasn't for the fact that one of them was a neighbor, they was gonna kill me. So I walked around there with him because the guy who he said had been a neighbor of ours for about 15 years.
Mm.
So I went around there and I asked him, I said, "Man, what the hell is going on? What y'all doing?" And he said, "Well, we protecting our neighborhood." And I looked around and I seen how heavily armed there was. And I asked him, "Well, who gave them the right to do this?" And one of them hollered, "You ain't got to explain nothing to him. Get the hell on away from here." In the course of us going back and forth, police passed by and said that they have a right to protect their neighborhood. So I told him, I said, well, if they have a right to protect their neighborhood, I have a right to protect mine. And he told me then that basically that if I get caught with a weapon, that they was going to take me to jail.
Now, did the police see them in the possession of their weapons?
Yeah, I mean, it was open.
All right. And were these white or black people?
They was white. It was all white. 3 of them I knew as my neighbors. The rest of them was just I didn't recognize them from living in Algiers Park. So when I went home, a little bit while they passed by my house calling me all kind of niggas and telling me what they was gonna do. So I had some weapons that I had from different family members that I stayed with, and I went out the second time, and there's an old saying that I told him, you know, that hey, it ain't no fun when the rabbit got a gun. Basically, I was letting them know that, you know, what you talking about burning down my house and what you gonna do to me, I'm gonna tell you, I know where you live at too. You know, and I ain't gonna allow that to happen. So basically after that, I called my comrade, Robert King Wilkerson, the only freed member of the Angola 3, and told him that what had happened and that I needed some help. To that, 2 of my heroes came down, and that's Scott Crow and Brandon Darby. These are 2 young Caucasians from Austin, Texas. And they was allowed in, because when I made the call for help, I made the call for help, security, as for weapons, and especially ammunition. Because I realized that what we had, we might have been able to sustain some form of a firefight, but we was no match to what we was facing. And like I was telling a lot of those youngsters, I don't care what kind of gun you have, but a weapon only become a gun become a club when it's out of ammunition. You know, and you know, so there's no need to get ourselves into something that we cannot win.
Right. Did you, at any point in time, see any other evidence of the work of those white people with guns?
We start seeing bodies. I guess the first body we saw was a young brother. I guess he was in his 20s. It was really kind of hard to figure out his age because half of his face had been blown off. Then we seen a couple of more that had been killed. Then at our health clinic, at the city's health clinic, we saw a body that's on that DVD that was left there. And what they was doing, they would kill most of the people that was going through Algiers Park. They didn't know anything about Algiers. And they didn't know where to walk at, what streets was safe to walk through. And And it was, you know, any black that was caught there, they was just shooting. You know, so you constantly heard, you know, the firing of their weapons. That went on from that Wednesday, that Wednesday evening to that Saturday. You know, so for those 4 days, we constantly saw this. I was raised in Gretna, in a part of Gretna that was called McDonaldville, and my family owned property there. So I was going over to see about their property when I saw the Gretna police had blocked off all the streets. They allowed me to get as close as maybe from here to that wall. And they stopped us and told us to turn around and get back in Algiers. The person that was with me was trying to tell the police that that we was going to see about property, and that's when he pointed his weapon at us and told us to get back into Algiers.
Brother Malik, to your knowledge, even if you didn't personally see it, was there a well-reported event where the Gretna police turned some other people back?
I saw him, was one guy tried to demand his constitutional rights, but I'm a firm believer that if you got a gun on me, I don't have any rights. You know, so I don't argue with a person that have a weapon in my face. I believe that's only a fool. And I saw this one guy argue with the police in front of us, and had his family with him about he was going in, you know, that he didn't have the right to, or the authority to tell him that he couldn't go in Gretna. And one of the police just walked up to him, bust him in his head with the butt of the gun, and was and dragged him off to jail.
Was that guy black or white?
He was black.
Okay.
The only reason why they didn't arrest him is because of the fact of his wife pleading. After the police let him go, after she kept begging him, he still went to arguing about he had a right. And I call him all kind of stupid ass niggas. I said, man, you must be out of your damn mind. I said, you want these police to kill you in front of your children. I said, you ought to just come on back, bro, and you see what's going on. That's when they threatened to arrest me. So I just turned around and left. You know, I said, well, I'm in New Orleans now. I thought it was going to be a difference. And but it wasn't no difference.
Were these police who on the bridge in Gretna, or to stop people from getting to Gretna, were they
I'm
heavily...
not talking about on the bridge. This was on the streets.
On the street.
Under the bridge.
Okay, under the bridge. Were they heavily armed?
That's all I saw was M16s and Ithaca shotguns.
Did you see any other... You saw at one point military vehicles coming through what you said were empty but wasn't rescuing nobody. Did you ever see any evidence of whether those people were armed?
During the early days, I saw every military person I saw that Wednesday up until that Saturday, they only had pencils and pads. That's all I seen them with is pencils and pads. The people the police that was there was basically, they had just about every police in the state of Louisiana, and then other police coming in from everywhere because what they was doing, the demonization. You know, this country have a policy that before it try to destroy anything, it take it through a process of demonization. We demonize it to the degree that we take the humanity out of these individuals, that we cease to look upon them as human beings. We look upon them as terrorists. We look upon them as gooks or whatever, instead of as being human. And I seen that was going on with us, because by that Wednesday, all African American men that was left in this city, or really African American people, was classified as looters. You know, that's all you saw, is that, you know, you heard all the mainstream media, 60 Minutes, Oprah, all of them. I mean, we was just demonized as looters. And nobody was providing anything. You know, and no man would sit idly by and watch women, and especially babies, die of hunger, you know, in the midst of all this food, without trying to do something. And again, some might say because they was criminals or because they was ex-offenders, that's the reason why they went in there. But I tell you what, they fed babies. Those was the ones who went in there and was taking food and bringing it back to the Superdome and to the Convention Center, as well as on I-10 and everywhere else that they found people that was in need. Now, you had a small minority that was there that was taking alcohol, but most of the people was taking what they needed to survive. Some people might complain that people was taking plasma TVs and things like this, but we have to remember that Hurricane Katrina happened at the worst time to be poor in America, and that is at the end of the month. People did not have anything, you know, and you know, the poor that did have anything, they had spent that on buying school supplies, because this was the second week of school. So they didn't have anything. The only thing people was waiting on was the first. So what they was doing, they was taking this and using it as bartering. You know, they know that if I had a plasma TV and I could get the hell out of New Orleans, wherever I'm going, maybe I could trade this TV in or sell it and get some money that I could try to take care of my family. Because again, nobody was providing nothing. Mm-hmm. And it just went on that way. I mean, the water was drinkable in Algiers.